Hello friends, welcome to lecture number 14, a very important topic because many things are connected with this topic. After you will go through this topic, you will be able to understand the government budget, you will be able to understand recession, you will be able to understand the current economic slowdown in India. Ultimately, when you read newspaper, when you read the economic section, a large part of it is related to what we will teach today. So, the topic will be the role of government in the economy and the business cycle. To understand the role of government in the economy, we need to go back to the 18th century when there was this person, David Ricardo, and there was this person, Adam Smith. Both these persons could be considered as founder of modern economics. And this was the first time when actually debate started at an intellectual level that what should be the role of government in the economy. Whether the government should be closely involved with economy or whether the government should be completely indifferent to the economy and economy should be left completely to the market forces. This was also the time when industrial revolution was beginning to start, and this was a time when enlightenment, which was an intellectual movement, started in Europe, which questioned science, which questioned other things, that was also strengthening. So basically, according to the first school of thought, which actually dealt with the role of the government in the economy, was the classical economics, and this thought dominated the policy making of the Western capitalist countries till next 140 years. So what exactly was that thought? Let us understand this. So basically, according to the classical economics, market is perfect. Market is completely perfect. Whenever there is some boom or bust, market automatically adjusts. So अगर कभी इकोनॉमी फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट से नीचे है या उससे ऊपर है, market is capable enough to adjust itself so that in long run economy will always be there at full employment. What is full employment? Full employment means that when you are using all your resources, labor, capital, raw material efficiently, most efficiently, the maximum you can produce in an economy, that is called as full employment. So basically, the premise of classical economics was based on three assumptions, and these three assumptions were: 1, flexible interest rate; 2, Say's laws; and 3, flexible wage and price. So basically they said कि ये तीन चीज इकोनॉमी में हमेशा होती हैं. That is why market is perfect. Market always adjusts itself automatically and there is no need for government. It actually gave the theory of laissez-faire, which means that the government which governs the least is the best government. And basically it said that government, if government intervenes in the economy, it actually produces an inefficient outcome. So let us see these three things and let us see their theory. So basically their main theory was Say's law. What did Say's law say? Say's law said कि supply creates its own demand. Supply creates its own demand. How? Because it says that when you produce something, you actually create a wealth, because you will first of all employ people who will produce that particular thing. Secondly, you will also or the capitalist who is the owner of that production cycle, he will also get the income. So basically when you supply something, when you produce something, it actually creates a wealth. or it creates equal wealth, and then this wealth can be used to purchase Y item, and when Y will be produced, the wealth created by production of Y will be used to buy X product. So ultimately each and every people will buy the other's product, and therefore we will always be at full employment. Now many people question them कि भाई ऐसी बात है कि अगर मान लो saving हो गई, if for example the people who have earned the wealth, they have started saving, तो भी क्या full employment हम achieve कर पाएंगे? तो basically they said कि usually what we have is that we have a flexible interest rate. What do we mean by flexible interest rate? It means कि let's say this is actually saving, and or this is actually what we call as saving, and this is what we call as investment. ठीक है ना? फिर से इसको बनाते हैं. This is saving. Saving is upward sloping, and this is investment, downward sloping. Now suppose this is the interest rate which is generated in the economy. ठीक है ना? अब देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि नाउ लेट्स अज्यूम कि सेविंग्स जो है वो राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट हो गई, विच मींस पीपल हैव स्टार्टेड सेविंग मोर. सो व्हेन पीपल विल सेव मोर, व्हाट विल हैपन? होगा क्या कि एक्चुअली गैप हो जाएगा. ये जो गैप है, दिस गैप विल बी क्रिएटेड. इट इज अ सरप्लस ऑफ सेविंग ओवर इन्वेस्टमेंट. ठीक है? व्हेन पीपल सेव, व्हाट इज द आउटकम ऑफ दैट? इट मींस दैट दे आर नॉट कंज्यूमिंग. And if they are not consuming, it means that जितना प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है उतना कंजम्पशन नहीं होगा, and because उतना कंजम्पशन नहीं होगा, therefore economic growth will fall, right? Because there will be some product which will be unsold, right? This was the argument given by the critics of classicals. Classicals said कि भाई देखो ऐसा है, सेविंग जब एक्सेस होगी इन्वेस्टमेंट से तो ऑटोमेटिकली क्या होगा? इंटरेस्ट रेट फॉल हो जाएंगे. अगर सेविंग राइटवर्ड शिफ्ट हो जाएगी S0 से S1, तो इंटरेस्ट रेट फॉल हो जाएंगे I1 से I2. क्यों हो जाएंगे फॉल? बिकॉज व्हेन सेविंग विल बी मोर इन द इकोनॉमी, देन देयर विल बी मोर लोनेबल फंड्स, एंड व्हेन देयर इज excess supply of anything, we have understood this thing, whenever there is excess supply of anything, then its price falls. यहां पे सेविंग का प्राइस क्या है? इंटरेस्ट रेट. तो इंटरेस्ट रेट I1 से I2 हो जाएगा, बिकॉज इंटरेस्ट रेट विल फॉल. इट विल लीड टू व्हाट? इट विल लीड टू मोर इन्वेस्टमेंट, बिकॉज नाउ इन्वेस्टमेंट विल बिकम चीपर, बिकॉज इंटरेस्ट रेट फॉल हो गए. ठीक है? आपको कोई नया प्रोडक्शन करना है तो आप जिस रेट पे लोन का आप इंटरेस्ट देते थे वो कम हो गया. इट मीन्स द इन्वेस्टमेंट विल इंक्रीज, एंड देयरफॉर वी विल रीच अ न्यू आउटकम. पहले हम ए पे थे, फिर हम बी पे आ जाएंगे विद अ लोअर इंटरेस्ट रेट. सो बिकॉज ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबल इंटरेस्ट रेट विच फॉल्स ऑटोमेटिकली व्हेनेवर सेविंग इज मोर देन इन्वेस्टमेंट, देयरफॉर द इकोनॉमी विल ऑलवेज बी एट फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट इन द लॉन्ग रन. सेकेंड आर्ग्यूमेंट दे सेड वाज कि भाई देखो अगर मान लो, लेट्स अज्यूम कि कल को लेट्स सी ड्रॉ एन diagram. Let's see, this is the long run average supply which is full employment. Full employment है ये आपका. ठीक है? This is aggregate supply, this is aggregate demand. ठीक है? Now suppose because of any outcome, for example, let's say because of floods or because of tsunami, aggregate demand decreases. Aggregate demand decreases from AD to AD0. ठीक है? तो exactly हमारा जो total production होगा that will be below the full employment, right? So there will be, there will be what we call as some people will not get employment. So according to the classicals, this will be a short run phenomena. Why? Because ultimately when aggregate demand will fall, then wages of people will fall, wages of workers will fall, and since wages of workers will fall, the cost of production will decrease. And because cost of production will decrease, it will motivate the producers to produce more. So ultimately, aggregate savings or aggregate supply will be shifting rightwards. And we will again reach the full employment. But the prices here will be much lower. Why it will be lower? Because wages have fallen completely. So basically it says कि अगर इस period पे unemployment होगी तो वो voluntary unemployment होगी. Voluntary का मतलब कि कुछ workers कहेंगे हम इतने कम wage पे काम नहीं करेंगे and therefore they will opt not to work. But anybody who is willing to work, he will get the work because the wages have fallen. So basically it says that because of flexible wages, we will again reach the position of full employment in a matter of few months, and market will adjust that automatically without the need of any government intervention. So this was the basic idea of classical economics. Now after the classical economics, the next field, the next topic that we will discuss or the next school of thought that we will discuss is the Marxian economics. This person, Karl Marx, when he died, they are not even 4 people who gave him the Kanda. He died as a lonely man, penniless, without any financial security. But this man actually inspired a lot of people in the 20th century. The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia was inspired by his idea, his philosophy. People consider him only to be a philosopher and a political scientist, but he was also an economist. Now, when we criticize Marx for his economy, well, I am not a Marxist, I am not a communist, but the Marxian economics, when we talk of Marxian economics, only 5% he wrote about his alternative model, which is a communist model. 95% of his work in economics is based on criticizing capitalism. And whatever he said about the criticism of capitalism, many things are very correct. And actually, empirically, they have been proven over the years. So we can separate his alternative model part, which actually is a crap and it has never worked in the world, the communist system. But his scholarship, his literary writings of criticism of capitalism is very valid because it's based on a very scientific premise. So when we talk of his critique of capitalism, he wrote a very good paper called as Crisis of Capitalism. Crisis of Capitalism. And his Crisis of Capitalism was based on the theory of surplus value. It's a very interesting theory. You need to bear with me. It's a very interesting theory. So basically he said that capitalism, well, can have a period of prosperity and growth, but it will not be forever, because in capitalism, crisis is inevitable. In capitalism, the crisis is inevitable. Why it is inevitable? The capitalism will always suffer from business cycle. The capitalism will always have a phase of growth and prosperity, and that phase will be accompanied by, or it will be replaced by a phase of doom, a phase of recession, and a phase of contraction. So basically, why the crisis is inevitable in capitalism is because of this theory of surplus value. So according to Marx, for production, the main component which ensures production is labor. The main component which ensures that production takes place is labor. अब होता क्या है कि in capitalism, because of free entry and free exit, there is always a lot of competition in the market. And because there is a lot of competition in the market, therefore the purpose or the whole energy of capitalist is actually spent on ensuring कि उसका cost of production कैसे कम हो सके. And therefore he always tries to do कि लेबर को मिनिमम वेज मिले, उतना वेज मिले कि उसमें कि वो सिर्फ अपनी लाइफ सस्टेन कर सके, ठीक है. एंड ऑल्सो, एंड दिस इज एक्चुअली अ वैलिड और रैशनल आर्ग्यूमेंट एट अ इंडिविजुअल लेवल. व्हेन एक्चुअली ऑल द कैपिटलिस्ट थिंक इन वे, देन देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम. व्हाई? बिकॉज कैपिटलिस्ट वो क्या करते हैं, दे ऑलवेज ट्राई टू इंश्योर कि लेबर की जो कॉस्ट है वो मिनिमम हो, एंड उसके लिए वो टाइम बाय टाइम कैपिटल इंक्रीज करते रहते हैं, राइट. दे ब्रिंग मोर machines, they bring more sophisticated way of technology, etc, etc, etc. अब होता क्या है कि in a economy majority of people are who? They are working class. But when working class will not have enough income, when you are only providing them sustenance income, then they will never have demand to purchase the goods which are produced in the economy. भाई कैपिटलिस्ट कितने हैं? 5% है, 3% है, 4% है. दूसरी बात, बिकॉज कैपिटलिस्ट इज ऑल्सो, बिकॉज हमेशा वो कॉम्पिटिशन इतना ज्यादा रहता है, तो कैपिटलिस्ट की जो अर्निंग होती है वो भी वो स्पेंड नहीं करता है, वो सेव करता है. क्यों सेव करता है? ताकि वो नेक्स्ट राउंड में और चीपर तरीके से प्रोड्यूस कर सके, ठीक है. सो द मनी विच इज अर्न, सो मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द मनी इज अर्न इन अ इकोनॉमी बाय द कैपिटलिस्ट. बट कैपिटलिस्ट इज एक्चुअली नॉट अ बिग कंज्यूमर बिकॉज ही सेव्स द मनी for next round of expansion, right? Working class, who are actually the big consumers, they don't have enough money to consume because they are paid very less. They are exploited by the capitalists, and that is why in capitalism you can only progress till you find alternative markets. For example, let's talk of UK. अब UK में मान लो उन्होंने एक्सेस प्रोड्यूस कर दिया है, मान लो 1 लाख प्रोड्यूस कर दिया है, ठीक है. अब यूके में जो वर्कर्स हैं उनकी तो इतनी इनकम नहीं है, तो दे कैन नॉट रियली बाय दीज 1 लाख प्रोडक्ट्स. बट इफ यूके कंटिन्यूज टू send their product to India, because at that time India was also the colony of Britain, or maybe Australia, or maybe in New Zealand, or maybe many countries in Africa. तो जब तक वो एक्स्ट्रा प्रोडक्ट को इन कंट्रीज में भेजता रहेगा, इट विल बी सेफ, देयर विल बी नो क्राइसिस. बट जब ये सारी कंट्रीज में भी ऑप्टिमम अचीव हो जाएगा, जब यहां पे भी और डिमांड नहीं रहेगी, तो क्राइसिस विल, तो दे विल बी रिसेशन, दे विल बी स्लो डाउन इन इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. बिकॉज तब क्या होगा कि जो प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है, बिकॉज प्रोडक्शन तो बढ़ता ही आ रहा है, आप मशीन का यूज कर रहे हो, तो दैट हैज बीन इंक्रीजिंग, बट जो उसका कंजम्पशन है वो इंक्रीज नहीं हो रहा है. वो तभी तक इंक्रीज हो सकता है जब तक आप न्यू मार्केट्स फाइंड करते रहो, आइदर थ्रू इंपीरियलिज्म और थ्रू फ्री ट्रेड. Once you stop finding, once you stop getting a new colony, once you stop getting a new market, capitalism में growth जो है वो contract हो जाती है, ठीक है. Therefore, crisis is always inevitable in capitalism, and that is one of the reason why 2008 में economic crisis आया. Because what has happened was कि after the neoliberalism, वो हम आपको आगे समझाएंगे, वर्किंग क्लास की सैलरी हैज बीन स्टैग्नेंट फ्रॉम मेनी इयर्स. तो इकोनॉमी में डिमांड नहीं है, पीपल आर नॉट कंज्यूमिंग इनफ, राइट. एंड व्हेन देयर विल बी नो डिमांड, देन देयर विल बी ऑलवेज सम अनसोल्ड गुड्स, एंड व्हेन देयर विल बी अनसोल्ड गुड्स, और व्हेन देयर विल बी अनसोल्ड गुड्स, इट विल गिव अ सिग्नल टू द कैपिटलिस्ट दैट ही विल नॉट डू फर्दर इन्वेस्टमेंट, बिकॉज ही बिलीव्स कि अब डिमांड ही नहीं है, तो मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट क्यों करूंगा. जब वो इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं करेगा तो जॉब्स क्रिएट नहीं होंगी, जॉब्स क्रिएट नहीं होंगी तो नेचुरल सी बात है डिमांड और कम होगी, डिमांड और कम होगी तो हम लोग की इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ भी कम होती जाएगी. तो ये पूरा एक विशियस साइकिल है, राइट. एंड मार्क्स सेड कि होगा क्या, उसके बाद वेजेस बहुत कम हो जाएंगी. तो वेजेस बहुत कम हो जाएंगी तो कैपिटलिस्ट को लगेगा कि हम कुछ दूसरा चीज है जो हम प्रोडक्ट, फॉर एग्जांपल अभी तक टेक्सटाइल प्रोड्यूस हो रही थी, अब इन्होंने सिल्क प्रोड्यूस करना स्टार्ट कर दिया, बिकॉज वेजेस हैव फॉलन थैंक्स टू रिसेशन. तो यहां पे भी फॉर सम टाइम दे विल बी बूम, बट यहां पे भी जब पूरी मार्केट पूरी तरह से एक्सप्लॉइट हो जाएंगी, देन अगेन दे विल बी रिसेशन. So therefore he says that crisis जो है कैपिटलिज्म एंड क्राइसिस आर टू थिंग्स. वो हो गई, टाइम टू टाइम क्राइसिस आता ही रहेगा. एंड ही वाज वेरी राइट, बिकॉज द होल जर्नी, द होल हिस्ट्री ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म इज एक्चुअली मार्क्ड बाय फ्रीक्वेंट पीरियड्स ऑफ बूम एंड फ्रीक्वेंट पीरियड्स ऑफ रिसेशन, राइट. His second theory on the role of state was actually कि भाई actually the state should intervene in the economy, the state should control all the means of production, because अगर हम private hands में दोगे तो ये problem तो आनी ही है. तो basically state जो है, state will be in charge of all the means of production, and the production will be done for the benefit of all, for the proletariat class. So according to Marx, there were two classes in the economy: the bourgeois, the capitalist class, and the proletariat class, which was the working class. So basically he said that government will use the means of production for the benefit of the working class, which is the proletariat class, and that is how economy will face no crisis. But that was again extreme option. अगर आप ये बोलोगे कि मार्केट हटा दो और पूरी तरह से गवर्नमेंट को ले आओ, then this is also an extreme opinion. Let's move to the third and the very important school, which is the Keynesian economics. Personally, I believe I'm a firm believer in the Keynesian economics, because I believe that this is the most pragmatic, most what we call as not just pragmatic, empirically proven school of thought. So Keynes believed. What did Keynes say? Keynes ने कहा कि भाई देखो ऐसी बात है, and let's say with the history कि late 18th century से लेके 1929 तक classical economics was the dominant thought. Marx came, but Marx की जो thought था वो उस समय तक mainstream नहीं था. अगर हम mainstream economics की बात करेंगे तो from 1790 till 1929, classical economics dominated the field of policy making. All the liberal democratic governments in the Western world, they relied on the classical economics for their economic policies. They believed that they should govern, or they should not really interfere in the economic matters, and they should be left to the market. Market is rational enough, market can allocate the resources efficiently, and market can ensure that whenever there is crisis, market can adjust itself, and market will ensure that the full employment will be realized. But 1929 में क्या हुआ? 29 में ग्रेट डिप्रेशन आया. ग्रेट डिप्रेशन जब आया तो पूरे वर्ल्ड ओवर इकोनॉमी जो थी फेल होना स्टार्ट हो गई. We will discuss about Great Depression in the banking वाला chapter. तो बेसिकली ग्रेट डिप्रेशन जब आया तो पूरे वर्ल्ड में स्टॉक मार्केट क्रैश हुए यूएस में, एंड देन इट लेड टू लॉट ऑफ बैंक्स जो क्लोज हो गए. उसके बाद कई सारी जो इंडस्ट्रीज थी वो बंद हो गई, वर्कर्स ले ऑफ हो गए. देयर वाज क्राइसिस इन द इकोनॉमी, पीपल वर सेलिंग देयर किट्स कि भाई कुछ इनको बेच कुछ पैसा मिल जाएगा. देयर वाज इट वाज अ हैवॉक, एंड बिकॉज अमेरिका वाज लिंक्ड टू द होल वर्ल्ड, देयरफॉर from America this crisis reached to the other places of the world. And for the first few years the government thought that market is perfect, market is rational, and it's a matter of few months and market will actually ensure that things will be restored. But in next 2 years this catastrophe even worsened. So therefore then came this person called Keynes, and Keynes advised the new president of America, Franklin Roosevelt, that you cannot rely on classical economics for treating this depression problem. You'll have to mold your policy. I will suggest you that policy, and that policy is Keynesian economics. It says that the market is imperfect and self-sustaining, and basically he said that consumers' income, when there is consumers' income, it leads to demand in the economy, and because of demand in the economy there is economic growth. So classical model was based on what? Supply side. This model was based on this model was based on demand side. What did classical say? Supply creates its own demand. Keynes said the opposite. डिमांड क्रिएट्स ओन सप्लाई. बेसिकली अगर डिमांड होगी इकोनॉमी में तभी सप्लाई होगा, बिकॉज अगर डिमांड नहीं होगी तो प्रोड्यूसर इज अ रैशनल पर्सन, एंड बीइंग अ रैशनल पर्सन he will not produce anything if he knows that whatever he is producing it will not be sold. So therefore it says that during recession the private demand subsides in the economy. and this private demand cannot be restored automatically, it cannot be restored by market, because अगर आपकी जॉब चली जाएगी तो वो जॉब वापस नहीं मिलेगी आपको, मार्केट ऐसा कुछ नहीं करेगा. Here government will have to intervene, government will have to raise demand, government will have to raise demand, government will have to stimulate demand, and when government will have to stimulate the demand, only then the economy could be revived. So basically he gave two policy prescriptions. We should increase whenever there is recession, whenever there is depression, government should either increase expenditure or it should decrease taxes. Both of them will do what? It will actually increase the income of the people. What did he said? He said कि भाई आप जब डिप्रेशन आता है आप रोड बनाओ, आप जो है पावर प्लांट बनाओ, आप अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट अलाउंस दो लोगों को, आप ओल्ड एज को पेंशन दो, आप बैंक्स को पैसे दो सस्टेन करने के लिए, ठीक है ना. ऑल दिस विल लीड टू व्हाट? इट विल क्रिएट जॉब्स. व्हेन जॉब्स विल बी created in the economy, their income will be increased. When their income will be increased, what will happen? When their income will be increased, there will be more demand of products. When the demand of products will increase, it will give the signal to the producer to produce more. So basically, if we talk of Keynes basically said कि usually क्या होता है, whenever there is economic recession, क्लासिकल्स का क्या कहना था? क्लासिकल्स का कहना यह था कि भाई देखो, अगर इफ सेविंग इज मोर देन इन्वेस्टमेंट तो इंटरेस्ट रेट अपने आप फॉल हो जाएंगे, और इंटरेस्ट रेट फॉल होंगे तो इन्वेस्टमेंट अपने आप इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. कीन्स ने कहा कि भैया ऐसे नहीं होता है, जब सेविंग्स इन्वेस्टमेंट से ज्यादा होगा तो इंटरेस्ट रेट तो फॉल हो जाएंगे. वी डोंट डिसएग्री विद दैट. But that will not revive investment. Why? Because he used the term called animal spirits. He says that usually an entrepreneur, he do investment because he is very optimistic about the outcome. He is very optimistic that with time his economy, or with time, if he'll produce, everything will be sold, and therefore he is willing to take the risk of creating a new factory. But during recession and depression times, the animal spirit of the entrepreneur is broken. He becomes very risk averse. He believes कि भाई अगर सब कुछ doomed है, कुछ भी नहीं है, अगर हम नया कुछ प्रोड्यूस भी करेंगे तो वो नहीं बिकेगा, नहीं लेगा, लोगों के पास पैसा कहाँ है, लोगों के पास जॉब कहाँ है. तो बेसिकली even with a low interest rate, the entrepreneur does not increase investment because he's become very pessimistic, right? And because he will not underdo more investment, क्या होगा? तो उससे जॉब्स जो है वो डिक्रीज होगी इकोनॉमी में, इसका प्रॉफिट फॉल होगा तो क्या होगा? इसका प्रॉफिट फॉल होगा तो ये लोगों को ले ऑफ करेगा तो जॉब्स डिक्रीज होंगी तो कंजम्पशन कम होगा. अब इवन व्हेन जॉब्स फॉल होने से पहले भी जो कंज्यूमर्स होते हैं वो भी रैशनल होते हैं. अगर उनको थोड़ी सी भी अनसर्टेनिटी लगती है कि उनकी जॉब जा सकती है आगे, तो वो अपना कंजम्पशन कम कर देते हैं, क्योंकि उनको लगता है यार पता नहीं, आफ्टर 3 months probably I will be fired. For example, when COVID happened, people were willing, they stopped spending much. Why? Because they were uncertain कि पता नहीं 3 महीने बाद हमारी जॉब चली जाए. ठीक है ना? There was one actually a good quote about difference between depression and recession. That person said that when your labor loses your job, it means it is recession. When you lose your job, it means depression. कि भाई आप सब कुछ बर्बाद हो गया है. तो basically because of fall in consumer confidence, consumer की डिमांड पहले ही कम हो जाती है, and that further depresses the animal spirits of the entrepreneur. So therefore दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम जहां पे मार्केट कुछ नहीं कर सकती है. इसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? इसके लिए यू विल हैव टू इंश्योर दैट देयर इज एक्सपेंशनरी फिस्कल पॉलिसी, which means government intervenes by increasing expenditure and reducing taxes. That will ensure that economy is revived. अब इसमें एक कॉन्सेप्ट है कि क्राउडिंग आउट इफेक्ट जो है वो होगा इससे, तो वो भी नहीं होगा इससे, क्योंकि प्राइवेट सेक्टर तो इन्वेस्ट कर ही नहीं रहा है, राइट? Basically, it will not ensure crowding out effect of private sector. Rather, it will ensure कि crowding in effect होगा. जब शायद गवर्नमेंट रोड बनाएगी तो बिजनेस करना इजी हो जाएगा, तो that will lead to more private investment. Right? So this new deal was followed by FDR or Franklin Roosevelt. That is how US economy was revived in the matter of few years. Basically, कीन्स और क्लासिकल में एक मेजर डिफरेंस क्या है? मेजर डिफरेंस ये है कि एक तो ये है, दूसरा है फ्लेक्सिबल वेज रेट. कीन्स ने कहा कि भाई वेजेस फ्लेक्सिबल नहीं होती हैं, आप ट्रेड यूनियन है, सब कुछ है, वो इतनी इजीली वो वेजेस एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे. तो वो भी एक प्रेमिस है दैट लीड्स टू मोर अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट. सो बेसिकली कीन्स और क्लासिकल, कीन्स वाज नॉट एडवोकेटिंग अ वेरी इंटरवेनिस्ट स्टेट. कीन्स वाज नॉट एडवोकेटिंग अ कम्युनिस्ट काइंड ऑफ स्टेट. कीन्स ओनली सेड कि भाई आप प्राइवेट सेक्टर, market is the main engine of the economy, but whenever there is crisis we should not rely on market. Government should intervene and government should ensure कि हम इस crisis से हम इसको बाहर निकाल के आए. अब this Keynesian economics was the most dominant prevalent school of thought for next 50 years, but by the end of 1970s we were facing stagflation problem in many countries. Stagflation means that when your growth has been low, along with that your inflation is high. So stagflation problem थी. तो उस समय there was a person called Hayek. This is a person. Hayek came, and Hayek gave a new alternative school of thought which we call as neoliberal economics. Neoliberal economics. So basically he says that this Keynesian model of demand etc. is not really something which will create job or which will sustain growth. Rather, he advocated two things. One, complete privatization. Two, deregulation. 3, less government intervention in the economy. He believed that the role of government should be to act as a facilitator. Right? So basically, this model believed that it believed in what we call as supply side economics. When we say supply side economics, it means that it is a theory which says that increased production drives economic growth. Increased production drives economic growth. So basically he suggested one thing. He said कि भाई आपका जो गवर्नमेंट है, गवर्नमेंट का फोकस डिमांड पे नहीं होना चाहिए. गवर्नमेंट का फोकस ये होना चाहिए कि कैसे हम कैपिटलिस्ट की, कैसे हम एंटरप्रेन्योर की सप्लाई इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं इकोनॉमी में. तो बेसिकली ही सेड कि भाई गवर्नमेंट का काम क्या होना चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को टैक्सेस कम करने चाहिए. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ गवर्नमेंट विल रिड्यूस द कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स, व्हाट विल हैपन? इफ गवर्नमेंट विल रिड्यूस द कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स, इट विल मीन दैट companies profit will increase. When companies profit will increase, he will hire more people. When he will hire more people, there will be more income in the economy. When there will be more income in the economy, there will be more economic growth and prosperity. Right? Similarly, if you reduce the income tax, it will provide an incentive to a person to work hard. So it believed in the idea of Laffer curve. Arthur Laffer was an economist. He believed that, if you decrease the tax to a very high level, then it actually kills incentive in the people to work more. And because it kills incentive in the people to work more, they will stop working more. And since they will stop working more, जो लोगों का टैक्स, जो गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स मिलेगा, that will be very low. ठीक है. Similarly, he said that if taxes will be reduced, then it provides an incentive to the people to work hard. वो अगर 6 घंटे काम करता है तो वो 8 घंटे काम करेगा, उसको पता है उसको गवर्नमेंट को कम टैक्स देना है. So this incentive to work hard will increase and that will lead to more production, more efficient outcome. Right? It was called neoliberal. Why? Because it was based on the classical premise that supply creates its own demand. Right? And this model actually, you know, when Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, this is also a part of Reaganomics. Ronald Reagan in America and Margaret Thatcher in UK, they both followed this neoliberal economic model, and actually it worked really well in 80s. In 80s, the US economic growth and the UK economic growth was revived thanks to following supply side policies. Right. Later on, you know, this model, or what we call as the modified version of this model, was actually prescribed even for the developing, struggling countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America. So by the end of 1980s, many countries in Africa, Latin America and Asia were under debt, lot of debt, and therefore they went for IMF and World Bank कि भाई हम क्या, what should we do to revive the economy? So IMF and World Bank told them that okay, we'll give you some kind of money and funding, but you'll have to follow our policy prescriptions. So that gave result to what we call as Washington Consensus. Washington Consensus had 10 key principles. One was fiscal discipline, which means that you need to have a small budget deficit. Government need to reduce its expenditure. Secondly, you need to prioritize your public expenditure. You need to redirect your expenditure from subsidies and other things towards health and education. Thirdly, tax reform. You need to reduce the tax rate and you need to bring more people within the tax ambit. Fourth is financial liberalization. The market should be, you know, you should have a market determined interest rate. Exchange rate, it should be competitive, it should be free. Trade liberalization, you need to, you know, reduce all the tariffs that you impose. Next is you need to abolish all the barriers related to FDI. Then privatization, all the PSUs should be privatization. Next is deregulation. The role of government should be to improve the ease of doing business. Basically, the supply side economics or the neoliberal economics believed that government should ease all the restrictions. अगर कल को किसी को कोई बिजनेस खोलना है उसको कल ही खोल दे, उसको मिनिमम परमिशंस लेनी पड़े. Also, government का role in managing him, in actually overseeing him, should be very limited. He is a rational person, he should be left alone. अगर ये होगा तो ease of doing business easy होगा. Ease of doing business अगर easy होगा तो production increase होगा. And through trickle down, the money will be reached to the working class also. And last is secure property rights. So basically, under this neoliberal model, the concepts of liberalization, privatization and globalization came up throughout the world. Globalization means integrating your economy with the world economy. Liberalization means you need to have a free market, and privatization means that you need to privatize many of your PSUs. So this became the buzzword throughout the year until 2008. In 2008, because हुआ क्या कि इस पूरे टाइम पे बिल्कुल स्टॉक मार्केट को छोड़ दिया गया. You know, you ultimately many of these private players they emerged as कि वो profit seeking, you know, वो हो गया, मतलब वो एकदम profit seeking जार हो गए. उनको ये लगा कि भाई चलो कोई बात नहीं, गवर्नमेंट देख रही नहीं है, हम प्रॉफिट कमा सकते हैं. एंड यू नो वी कैन इवन यूज अनफेयर मीन्स फॉर दैट, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट का कोई रेगुलेशन तो है नहीं. तो पूरे यूएस में शैडो बैंकिंग इमर्ज हुई, जहाँ पे गोल्डमैन सैक और लेहमन ब्रदर जैसे लोग पैदा हुए जिन्होंने लेंडिंग करना स्टार्ट कर दिया. उन लोगों को भी जिन लोगों के पास औकात नहीं थी पैसे रीपे करने की, एंड देयरफॉर दे वर कॉल्ड एज सब प्राइम लेंडर्स. अब उनको लोन को देना शुरू किया क्योंकि देवर कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डेरिवेटिव्स विच स्टार्टेड. डेरिवेटिव्स इज अ वेरी टेक्निकल टर्म, आई थिंक यू डोंट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट, बट बेसिकली एक टर्म था डेरिवेटिव जिसकी वजह से रिस्की लेंडिंग स्टार्ट हुई. एंड फाइनली 2008 में द वर्ल्ड सफर्ड द इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन, जिससे हम आज तक भी बाहर नहीं आ पाए हैं. So after and also one biggest consequence of this neoliberalism is it actually worsened the economic inequality in the world, because ultimately it increased the wealth of the CEOs, of the upper management, and they used to drive Audis and Mercedes, and they used to fly in their swanky jets. But the working class जो था उसकी जो salary थी, it somehow became stagnant. So the gap between the capitalist and the working class significantly increased in last 30-35 years once we started following the neoliberal model. And that is the reason why in many countries you had seen that right-wing leaders have been emerging. Trump in USA, Bolsonaro in Brazil, you have Boris Johnson in UK and many other countries of the world. Because ultimately in last 30-35 years जो model था neoliberalism का, under that model mostly the rich people benefited from that. The working class, their condition actually declined, and therefore some kind of anguish against globalization emerged in the post 2008 era. And now we have a kind of model which is not based on neoliberalism, because this model of today, we don't know what to call this model, because ultimately this is not based on neoliberalism, because it is against globalization. Most of the countries have been imposing some kind of protectionism, and also the government intervention has significantly increased in the economy in last few years. So somehow we are moving towards a more hybrid model, which is somewhere between neoliberalism and the Keynesian economics.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Savills Daily.